Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's the Jade Gemini. Today I'm super excited to go and bring a review of this big guy right here. This is the Owala stainless steel traveler tumbler. And today I'm actually going to go ahead and go over some of its features, go over what I like, what I love, what I dislike, and if it applies, what is rubbish about this tumbler, as well as go ahead and show you some of its competitors and how it goes ahead and stacks up in total. So before we go ahead and do that, let's go ahead and get some size comparisons out of the way. Probably first one I'm going to go ahead and do is one that probably most people have owned, have a similarity to, know the size of, and that is your sort of standard Hydroflash flask, 32 ounce cup. So if you look, kind of hard to show, but this is a little bit taller for sure, but not monstrously different in its overall profile, and I got it, tail to tail on that side. Next one is the most recent popular contestant, the Stanley. And as you can tell with them side by side, the Owala is a little shorter, not by really much at all. They're just about the same. Nearest makes no difference. And then next, what we'll go ahead and do is have my main daily driver. This is the, let's just say Traveler Tumbler as well from Yeti. And this one is actually 30 ounces. So it's quite a bit smaller than the 40 ounces that comes with the Owala. And I get an idea of them side by side. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into this Traveler Tumbler. So this has really been a lot of hype recently with the sort of Stanley coming into the scene and having its sort of unique design. Owala is a company that seems to be really kind of taken off here recently, and so far I've been impressed. I actually have, and it's going to be on review as well, but I have the free sip flask. That's like a thinner flask, but it's more like this design instead of like a cup like this or a tumbler, like this. And so far things are pretty good. So the first thing overall is the fit and finish is pretty nice on this. Feels really nice. The colors that they choose out are really, really fun. Everything just, is sort of knocked down. There's no real sharp edges, no real problems, nothing that seems like, a lower grade. So, that's always nice when you're going to go ahead and spend some money, on something and invest into that. The next thing that I do end up liking is this handle overall. They've kind of changed the way that it is with this. With this, you're kind of grabbing onto the cup or you're grabbing onto the handle itself, and that's fine. With this, they've just added a little bit more ergonomics with the Owala. So you have this divot where you can hold your thumb into, and it's nicely rounded and contoured on the back, which it so is rounded and contoured here, but it also has this just sort of stepped edge and like a flat spot, and this is just round the whole entire way around. The other thing that I do like is that if you want to hold it like this little cutout here actually kind of rests into your hand nicely instead of having this big gap right here that doesn't do that as easily. So it just helps you support and carry the cup around, which is pretty nice. Next thing that I like is the lightness of this. This would be really great for somebody, day to day, day in and day out, as I know that this is popular in no matter, who you are, right? Male, female, they, them, whatever in between. With this sort of situation, this Yeti is a insane beast of a thing. It's really heavy. It's just about as heavy as this Hydro Flask right now that is half full, and this is completely empty. So this is much, much lighter than the Yeti, which is going to be nice once you have it fully, you know, to the brim with 40 ounces. So another thing that I do like, I feel like the 40 is a really great size. You know, once you fill it up with ice and fully with water, you're still getting like 30 ounces of pure water that you're going to intake. And the more water that you have with you, the more ability you have to actually be hydrated, which I think is a really important thing if you're going to have something like this. The next thing I do like is just its overall design. Personally, the Stanley is okay, but I just feel like it's a little bit too, I don't know if you would call it brutalist, but you know, if you're into like architecture, brutalist architecture is very like square and concrete, and you know, sort of just black and white, right? And that's sort of this design. It's very this, that, this, right? And to me, it's, with this big area right here and then having this kind of on the bottom, it always kind of looked a little weird to me. While this, although it does have this big area, it just sort of just barely, you know, is sculpted a little bit more. And then it has this nice curve here. And just there's an aesthetic to it as well with the curve kind of coming up here instead of being so slab-sided. I just think it's more attractive, right? It's just more fun. You know, it's something that I do like quite a bit. Also, like I was saying, the colors that they have for these are 4 right now. You have the stealthy black, you have like a cream white, you have this one right here, which is this blue with this pop of light blue, which is really nice. And this is sort of like a gray, sort of cream color. And then I believe there's one that is like a coral color or something like that as well. So definitely fun to go ahead and see some different flavors, and you know, also the collectability as well is kind of cool about these. These are hard to find. I don't even know if these are on the website right now. Target seems to be the only place that I've been able to see where you can kind of pick these up, and you know, that's where I got this one, as a matter of fact. So those are all the things that I like so much about the this tumbler. To go on and get into what I love about the tumbler, the first thing is its performance, which I'm really happy. You know, whenever you see a new company kind of come on the scene that hasn't been, you know, Hydroflask or the Titan Yeti, right? You're kind of like, okay, well, yeah, it looks kind of okay, it looks kind of cool, looks cute, right? It's popular right now, but how's the performance? And that's something that actually happened with the Stanley is, you know, through my wife's usage and mine as well, really ended up going ahead and finding out that it just did not hold the same, you know, performance to insulate and keep, you know, ice cubes and water cold as you know, these two over here. However, with my Owala, especially with the free sip, even though this is like lightweight and everything like that compared to something like the Yeti, the performance blew me out of the water. You know, I had this, you know, filled up with ice, and it was full all the way to the top from work. And then I filled it up with water, drank it, filled it up with water, drank it, right? And then there was probably only this much left in the bottom of just ice, no water. And I left it in the car all night long, got up in the morning, and then went to pick it up to see if there's any water in it, and it was just all ice still. So the performance is just really, really great. You know, I would say it's just on par up there with something like the Yeti, which is, of course, they're known for their insulation, and Hydroflash has been doing it for years and years and is like an OG, so, you know, they're great at it too. So that's definitely something that is great and to love, because that's kind of the point of the whole entire insulated cup thing. The next thing that I do love a lot, and I didn't touch on enough with the Stanley review, is the water tightness. Now, the Yeti, one of the reasons why it's my main daily is it's 100%, you know, watertight, right? You know, some people were kind of concerned. What does that look like? Hopefully I don't spill this everywhere. Hey, there we go. Okay, there we go. So this is completely full. Once you screw it down, other than if just some gets on the seal right here, it's completely watertight. Okay. Now with the Stanley, the fact is that when I ended up getting it, didn't really pay enough attention to how, you know, lackluster the water tightness or complete lack thereof is. So when you're using the Stanley, if you know, you have like kids that walk around, dogs that can't see very well, you know, things like that, or you're in an office space, especially with these big handles here on both of them, they're kind of easy to accidentally smack, right? And so with the, now keep in mind this Stanley is the last generation, not the newest one, but from my seeing and, you know, watching of videos, it's not really that great either, but it's just, it just pours out so fast. And you ask, well, hey, what if you shut it? You know, because there is a mode that you can have it shut like this where there's no hole open. It's the same thing, right? With the Owala though, if you end up going ahead and putting the water in it, which I'm just gonna do that now. That's taking too long, sorry. Just take the top off. Okay, so with the Owala, it's a lot more close to how the Yeti is. So I'm going to move this so I can get everything on film. Also, one thing I did want to point out with the lid is that it's bi-directional, so you can do it for somebody who's facing you right hand with the handle, or if that's not where it's supposed to be, you just unscrew it until it drops down into place, and then when you screw it, now it's for the left hand side, so it's not, you know, just one direction or anything like that. But I've got the straw, and I'm using just a straw, the same straw for both, so it's fair, from the Stanley. But you can walk around with my Yeti like a briefcase with this by your side, and it's not dripping, right? I mean, it's barely coming out of the top, and if you do just pour it over, right, it's just kind of coming out of the straw and dripping a little bit. Now, if we take and do the same thing, where we take out the straw that we're using, and this actually comes with a better straw anywhere that's rubber, so I'm sure it will actually seal even better. But when you do this, like, this isn't coming out just like you expect with the Yeti, which is great. This means that this is, you know, for all intents and purposes, watertight. I wouldn't say it's as waterproof as this, right? And even with the Yeti being, I would say it's waterproof, right? Or completely watertight, I would still kind of feel, you know, that the slide lock could maybe get nudged open or something kind of easily. But, I mean, like if this falls over in your backpack, I don't think you're gonna, you know, get your laptop drenched. The other cool thing that I do love is with that lid and that sort of performance or, you know, enhancement that they've designed into it, it has a sort of tension slide lock as well, so you can sip from the lid as well as pour very easily. So that's a huge, huge, huge win over its main competitor, the Stanley. So now, the thing that really kind of sets it home for me is the last thing, and that is the ease of cleaning. You know, if you drink something like Coke, right? Or you drink coffee, you put it in this, you don't want that flavor to get, you know, stained. And with this, it's really hard to kind of get this off, right? You got to kind of get, you know, a knife in there, something like that, to be able to get this off. It's just not fun, right? With this, even easier than the Yeti, which is something that I praise so much with it, is you can simply take your fingers, take this off, immediately get in here and clean. And this is the only seal, because this is all like built in, so you just sort of run soap and run it back and forth like this to make sure all the soap gets out. But with this, you simply take this off, you know, you can throw in the bottom like this, screw it on, put hot soapy water, slosh it back and forth, and then run everything underwater until it's completely clean. And then it's as simple as it came off. You just put it back on and sort of just run your finger around to make sure it sits in that groove, and you're back in action. And then you just screw it down and you're good to go. I mean, that is just magnificent. and again, watertight, just as before. That's a big deal. Also, of course, the biggest thing of all about these tumblers that I love is the fact that unlike your Flask that's rolling all around, falling in the floorboard, getting scratched up, with this, you put it in a cup holder and it sits there, which is huge. So you're just taking all the things that basically made the Stanley popular, but you're beating every single one of them. It's more attractive in my opinion, right? It's comparable, I think even a little cheaper in the price, which we'll get to. It has a better designed top that is actually, makes no difference, watertight. It has easy to clean. It has better insulating performance tenfold, right? I mean, it's great in that way. It's even got more, ergonomics in my opinion as well, with the way that it holds and the design of the handle. There's just a lot to love here. Now, there are some things to kind of dislike or at least mention. The first one is from my Owala, what I've kind of noticed is, my baby has sort of knocked this around on the floor. Don't know why he's obsessed with it, but whenever he's on the floor, he knocks that around, and it's held up pretty well. The only reason it actually has scratches in it because it fell on the concrete, which I had to put a sticker over it to kind of shield most of that. But from him rolling it back and forth, it hasn't scratched up. Now, when the Owala free sip flask that I have got rolled back and forth, just like the first 2 or 3 days that I had it, there were like little scratches in the paint. So I don't think they have as hard of like a powder coat or anything like that. Again, this one's still pretty new enough that I can't say if they've improved on that formula, but at least going off of the all black Owala that I have, I would say that it's okay, right? It's fit and finished nice, but how it will wear, I would probably say is going to be okay. Well, of course, if Hydroflash, or especially with the Yeti, that stuff is like baked on into the actual metal itself. It's gonna last a really long time and look good as long as you're not clumsy or intentionally banging it into anything. So that is something to kind of go ahead and keep in mind. The other thing that was just similar to the Stanley is the fact that this is screwed on instead of it being welded on like this, a part of the cup, which does make a more ergonomic piece because it's not just a folded piece of metal that's painted. But I would just kind of be wary that this maybe could, get rust in here or something like that. Just something to kind of keep in mind. Or will this come loose over time? Hasn't happened with the Stanley. I think they probably test that for a long, long time. But just something to kind of keep in mind. Other than that, I mean, there isn't really too much more not to like about this product, or to dislike about this product, and there's nothing that's rubbish. Just some things to kind of touch base on that is nice. The fact is that this is actually pretty price, efficient. This ends up going ahead and costing right around, I think, about $35, $37, which is pretty par of the course. As, this comes up being more in like the 40s. And this actually got picked up yesterday for like $47, like basically $50, right? And not all of them. I'm sure it's because this is a special, desert tan color. But it's nice to go ahead and see that the Owala stuff seems to generally come in at a more fair price. And it seems you're getting a competitive product to the Yeti, and even some enhancements over that, and definitely beating out the Stanley in every single direction that I can see. And again, I want to like the Stanley because it's this good old American brand, but, results is the way that I actually look at it. And in every single way, this is knocking it out of the park. So if I would say, hey, is this the new hype cup? Is it really, really worth it? Absolutely. If you're looking for this bigger 40 ounce, multi-use ability, also it's really open, so it's easy to get your hand down there and clean in a pinch, which is great, especially if you have kids and stuff. You don't have a lot of time to be doing things that take multi-minutes. You need to get it in, get it out fast, right? All those little different things are going to be great. You have that control, you have that design, that has become so popular with the Stanley, but it's just enhanced in every single way. So if you've had your eye on these and you've been wondering, is that going to be any good? Still not leaking during this whole time, by the way, which it would have been well empty if it was in the Stanley. But I have to definitely recommend this cup wholeheartedly. It is a beast, and it's definitely cool to see something come on the scene like this that really does fix all the issues that maybe other ones have not. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please go ahead and give a like as well as subscribe, as it really does go ahead and help the channel. Of course, if you have any sort of questions, please go ahead and leave those in the comments below, as I love just fellowship with you guys and answer any questions that you might have. Of course, I hope everybody has a safe rest of your week, and I appreciate you taking time to watch my little channel, as there's so many big, huge channels out there. Really does mean a lot. Everybody take care and stay safe with the week coming up. Peace.